Welcome to the Planning and Highways Committee on the 5th of November, and the first item we have apologies for absence.
Apologies have been received for Councillor Hart.
On the bottom of it, well done. That's good. Anyone got any interest in dispensations?
Just need to approve the apologies.
Sorry?
Just need to approve the
We need to
apologies.
approve them. Right, okay. Right.
I'll propose approving.
Right. Seconder? All those in favour? Okay. I think I've got an interest. Anyone got any interest of dispensations? I have.
Okay.
On the application for 11 Chamberlain Road, because I live next door to one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will not take part in that.
May I suggest as well, Chair, that as you're on the Eastleigh Local Area Committee, you probably shouldn't speak about the one that is going to EMAC.
Oh yeah, the present one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It's probably. I think it's probably worth that you stay
so
quiet for that bit. To be
I'll
honest.
stick quiet for that one. In fact, I'm waiting for the Vice Chair. Stick on that one.
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?
She wants to go back to the car. Thanks for that, guys. Okay. Well, the minutes of the last meeting on the 1st of October. Let's have a quick look through them. Anything anyone wants to raise from the minutes? Everyone happy with the minutes? Proposer, seconder? All those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay. Public participation. So we have a gentleman sat at the back there.
I'll keep it brief as well, don't mind. For me to say something now? It's just reference.
Carry on. Carry on, tell us all about what you want to tell us about, yeah.
I mean, I've got a little speech, if you don't mind.
You want to sit here?
Yeah,
You could do better there.
Excuse me, I'll need glasses instead. Getting more of you, by the way. I addressed you this evening just regarding our housing scheme. It's central Eastleigh and it's at the Crescent.
So, sorry, your name is?
Colin from Regal Homes. I'm the owner of Regal Homes. I've attended just to the nature of the site. It is surrounded by 50 residential properties and this derelict old garage, sat dormant for over 20 years, needs a resolution. The aim is to deliver a scheme that pays respect to the long history of Eastleigh Railway Works. We have designed the scheme I've actually used the design of Eastleigh Railway, one of the builders itself. General feedback on the design facade has been extremely positive. We also sought pre-application advice from Eastleigh Borough Council, which was also very productive. However, like any scheme, there are compromises. We have listened to the feedback regarding the lack of soft landscaping, tree removal, which we did do, and parking, all issues that are prevalent in that part of Eastleigh. We therefore have adopted the scheme for you. We've actually changed the scheme from the one that you've probably got, about another 300% worth of trees and added another 40 linear metres of hedging. We also like to add that the size of the plots laterally are exactly the same as the terrace houses. We've made sure they're precisely the same. Prior to this evening, I've approached each and every resident for their feedback. I actually own one of the houses that one of the 50 residents. And we've adapted the scheme numerous times to accommodate the genuine issues, because there are issues with any site. I will note we've even conceded some of our land to accommodate vehicle access to the rear for the residents. They technically haven't legally got a right, but we've conceded the land because we just think it's the best thing for the community infrastructure. We hope those efforts are taken into consideration, and regeneration of this abandoned site is just something that seems appropriate to us. That's it really, thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. I know the site inside out, so.
It's coming up on the agenda later.
Sure. Okay.
So thank you very much.
Sit back over here.
Welcome to stay and listen.
Is that right?
I'm sorry.
I do have a question, but I don't know if Colin is staying for that part. Do you want me to ask the question when we talk about the application? that might make more sense.
Yeah,
If
you
you are
say.
planning to stay, you
I'll happily
seem to
stay.
are.
I'm not getting involved with Father at night, so my kids are
Okay,
around.
I'll-
So maybe then seeing the guys just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right. Fine. Very much. Significant decisions then, Natasha.
Okay, so this month there are no significant decisions again. So we're in line with the borough and what decisions they've made so far. Chair, may I suggest we move the 91B present as the first planning application that we
I think
review?
we can probably do that. So this, the next one is 91B, the present, construction of two two-bedroom, four three-bedroom terrace dwellings at 91B, the present. I am not going to take any part in it because I shall be on that committee when it's decisions made. So I'm going to hand over to my vice chair who can deal with it.
I'll do my best. I've had a long conversation about this already this evening, and it's interesting that Eastleigh Borough Council does nothing about the need for HMOs and all the rest of it, because people are desperate for accommodation. We're all sitting here with our own properties, aren't we lucky? But other people haven't, especially the younger ones, and they need somewhere to live. If you find out the marriage is broken up, you let your life that the wife keeps the house in most cases, and the husband has to find somewhere to live. And so you're left with not enough, well, there's just no accommodation really available for a lot of people unless you pay very expensive rent. And that's not good enough. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should pass all this through for 1 minute, although I did like the layout of the accommodation that was proposed. And I think with the new addition of environmental issues, it should be sorted, hopefully. But I just thought, does the council actually care about people who need accommodation? There's an awful lot of demand for it and very little provision. Can I just leave it there and see what people think?
Okay, so I will go through the presentation. So, as you can see, here's the location and block plan. This is the landscape plan. Okay, so this is the existing floor plan. As I've mentioned, it's a derelict site at the moment. And these are the proposed elevations of the floor plan. They have cycle store elevations, and this is the proposed plan. So this is the comparison. So to the left you see what it currently looks like, and to the right it's what they're proposing it would look like. Again, proposed elevations and the aerial view of what it would be. Okay, so they have a landscape management plan. So the developer will be responsible for maintaining the landscape for at least 30 years after completion, and every 5 years they report condition of the habitats. They make a commitment to replace any plants or trees that are dead at the right time of the year, and soft landscaping should be carried out in the planting season between October and March. They've listed their responsibilities. They've had an environmental death study and preliminary risk assessment. Oh, sorry, gone ahead. So it was most recently used as a vehicle service garage, so it may have impacted the soil on the ground. They have potentially saw risks for construction workers, future occupants of the buildings, toilets and underground services, and perched groundwater. They've said that there is a former gravel pit, but it's unlikely to be a concern. Their recommendations were an intrusive investigation is needed to assess the risk, focus on areas of potential risks, take soil samples, and review the findings to determine if additional soil or groundwater sampling would be required, and implement an informal observation strategy. We've had a response from EBC Landscape Consultant, and They have overall objected to it. They've said that it represents overdevelopment. The softer landscape areas are extremely limited. The development will be dominated by buildings and hard surfacing, and the scheme provides no significant landscape benefit and does not address Eastleigh's climate emergency. The visual impact shows that new terrace houses are highly exposed. The site, which was once a green island, would now be 90% built form and hard surfacing. The existing vegetation has been removed prior to submission, and it means that any meaningful landscaping now requires space for new trees, but only 2 trees are proposed. Obviously, when I've created this potentially is before the adaptations have been put in place, just to note that. The recommendations from EBC Landscape Consultant response is to reduce the number of units, to increase the planting opportunities and reduce hard surfacing. So they've said that if the scheme proceeds, they would like to improve the landscape proposals and add hedges along paths and drives. Replace tender species in landscape 10 with some robust plants, add climbers and guide wires to soften the walls and fences, and replace field maple with acer. So basically at the moment their conclusion to it is that it is cramped with a barren landscape setting, and current proposals are disappointing. But the biggest concerns are from the landscaping side of things. So HEC Highways response, they have no objection to the proposals, subject to the conditions that they've set out. Tree response, they've said that the site previously had a large central tree providing important ecosystem services, and it was preemptively felled to remove an on-site constraint. This tree was not protected by a tree preservation order, but they would require that that there is a tree replacement. They've said that they need a robust landscape proposal to provide ecosystem benefits and maintain amenity for new and existing residents. Residents' responses, as I'm sure you've all read, largely objecting on overdevelopment, the access, parking and congestion, construction and the environmental impacts, the design and sustainability, and the impact it would have on the community. I've just summarised them. And that's what we have for that one. Over to you, Chair. Oh, Vice Chair, apologies.
Thank you. I looked at this plan quite hard, and I feel that they're overlooking the people's backyards for a start, the gardens, so they're taking the privacy from people. There's only a very small roadway, which is single track into the building or the buildings, so only one car can go down and one car can back. So it's quite very narrow to get in and out of. I feel very strongly because it's just in the wrong place. I think I know people want housing and everything, but I think this one's just in right where people can see and everything as well. It's very, very close. And if you read the objections from 5 or 6, I think it's people around the area, they're very against it, and there's some good points about it as well.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
I agree with you with that they have shortage of housing, and we're in Eastleigh with the things of housing, but also at the moment I'm very against HMOs, because at the moment we're getting more and more built in, and in the end there's not going to be enough children for schools, or there's not going to be enough families having children, and the schools will be
oh, you're right.
you know, so then the schools will be closing, then someone will be going, no, why is my school closing? So anyway, that's my view.
But we don't seem to have any provision at all for single people in particular, even small families. And because how can you afford to buy these places? You can't. It's out of their pockets altogether. Yes, I don't quite know where to go with this. At the end of the day, it's saying it's far too cramped, and that's fair enough. Maybe we need fewer of those houses. And more access.
There's only one narrow road there.
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
thing, that's-
Yes. Because the land that's being taken over is a mess. We know that. But how best do you use it? What do you put there in its place? And I wish I had the answer to that, but I don't.
No, none of us.
Hey?
So I've got some ideas. I pretty much spoke to every single neighbour,
Yeah.
some of which have opposed, even though we had some fantastic conversations.
Yes.
So I'd rather speak to, and then some of them have been my neighbours over the years.
Yeah, of
so
course.
it is quite an awkward one for me. And they were dead against HMOs.
Oh, absolutely.
They
Yeah.
were dead against flats. Obviously the access, I know exactly how wide the access is. I drive down it regularly. Nothing you can do about that. But because it's was an existing garage, that's the only reason why highways would ever approve it. I looked at it originally when I bought it off of Eastleigh Borough Council. They had an opportunity to put tree preservation laws in. They did not, because they wanted to sell the site.
Fancy.
So we have to remember that. And the other thing was, I originally looked at it for offices for myself, because we have offices in central Eastleigh, and all the neighbours against that as well. But it's been sat there over 20 years. I've looked at it so many times from my own window when I used to live there, and you just think, you've got to do something with it. So that design is mine. Whether you agree with density, I know how far the back gardens were. I looked at how the solar would work with Eastleigh Borough Council. I turned them round because they said you're best suited to being south facing because they're smaller gardens, because the density there is what Eastleigh is in that particular area, and you've got all the alleyways. So I didn't really have much opportunity to, apart from them wanting some sort of industrial facade, which they liked. I say a principal plan officer really liked it. I didn't know really what else I could do. So when the architect came up with the drawing and I played around with it and reduced it, and then reduced it again because it did seem too close. But the challenge was Eastleigh hadn't boarded the grounds on correctly. So it looks like these homeowners have got all this space behind them, which they have no ownership. So it's really awkward for me to propose a scheme for that in conjunction with, and I also want the rear access for my own benefit, for my own property. So it's been really complicated, and it is a dense area, but I didn't know what else we could possibly come up with that would be befitting that area. So it was really difficult, actually.
I'm sure.
Stephen, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing this.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right, you carry on. Councillor Campbell, please do.
Okay, so the things that I was thinking about, obviously I've read all the objections and comments and things like that. I guess for me, I do feel it's overdevelopment. I think there's too much being crammed into a tiny space. I think if you took that design and put it somewhere else, it would be very nice. So I'm not criticising your design.
No, don't worry.
You know, if you're going to put anything there, I think what has been designed, you know, looks, you know, it's in keeping with the area and what have you. But I just think there is so little green space. I would like to see, you know, much less, but with proper green space. So they could be what most of the others are, is family homes. But they've got very little amenity space there, and the nearest sort of amenity space I guess would be obviously Lee Rec, which I accept is within sort of, you know, walking distance. But if you've got young children, you're not going to let them go and play on Lee Rec sort of on their own, because you've got that, you know, very busy road to cross. So I am concerned. I actually think Eastleigh does an awful lot of housing. I think they are one of the most active. It's not very often that people say Eastleigh Borough Council is not building houses. If anything, it's normally that they're doing too much. The trees, you know, well, the tree's gone. It's well, whether it's one or two sort of thing. But there were some, you know, the I think it said on the plans that the stump of one was like, you know, 0.9 of a metre sort of thing. And so when you think of the sort of ecological value of a tree of that size, and then obviously replacing it with, I appreciate that the numbers subsequently changed, but on the plans that we were asked to look at, it's just sort of 2. That's sort of problematic. I wondered about planting the wild privet because the blackberries on that are highly poisonous to humans. So I just thought possibly, you know, there being a lot of children in the area, that maybe that wasn't the best shot. That's a minor sort of point. In the application form, I was surprised that when it asked about contamination, it was ticked as a no, that there wasn't sort of contamination on site. But the fact that it is a former garage, I think that should have been a yes, I would have thought, because certainly when I was on the borough, we discussed this site in the past, because it would have made, you know, a lovely green oasis. You could have had a lovely community garden there, but one of the issues was contamination on site. So I was just a bit surprised by that. And I just sort of wonder about, and the question that I was going to ask, you mentioned in your presentation, you said about the plot size being the same as the existing,
Yes.
because it certainly didn't look like it. So I didn't know, do you mean the footprint actually of the dwelling, or the whole?
No, I mean the plot widths. I want to keep them identical.
Yes, yes.
So all related.
Yes.
Front to back.
Yes,
That's what
yeah.
I was trying to mean.
But so had you been able to stretch the land slightly,
Well,
get the bigger gardens?
I could have done that, and I could have actually shrunk the houses a reasonable amount, and actually used most of those rear areas. But I'd have had far more objections if I'd have done that, because I'd have been using our own land and I've conceded it. Or I can concede it. It's horrible to make that decision, but I was thinking, and one of the complaints, funny enough, I spent probably 2 hours in their house. They were really great. I said, yeah, it's brilliant. We can retain our electric point at the rear of their house. And had I not conceded that land, that technically they're not supposed to be using it. But of course, you don't. The last thing you want to do is take away something they've had for a long time. Because let's be honest, there's no off-street parking. And actually, Eastleigh were happy for me not to have any parking bays. I would have had. So
Yes.
what I could have done is I could have very easily done those 6 units. It would have fitted perfectly, but there's no parking. And all I've done is upset everybody. Because what happens is, as you probably well know, is with a new application, you don't get the parking permits.
Yeah.
Where are they going to park? And you've got to be realistic. I'm very realistic because I know the area so well. And it's that, trying to get that balance right. Like people talk about the solar and the Swift. Well, I've got a full roof since those drawings have changed. I put the full roof of solar. We're just doing 7 Underwood Road, Bishopstoke. And they've got both houses have got a whole roof of solar. But I could have made them smaller and it would still work, but it's
I think for me that's my concern, the lack of sort of green space, and I think it feels very, if you were in those houses, your sort of view is, I mean, you are just completely sort of surrounded by housing, and you've got very little, as it is at the moment, as you look at the terraces sort of thing, you've got the row of houses, and you've got, you know, at the back, very large sort of gardens, sort of providing that separation. And where I haven't walked it recently, but obviously I'm very familiar with that sort of area, and it is quite narrow. And I was just thinking, you know, if you're living in those houses and you've got a furniture delivery sort of thing, can the furniture van get to you sort of thing. I'm assuming it's of a necessary width so that a fire engine could get,
We
to
had a
it.
fire recently, so some kids set fire to it, so I know the fire resistance can get down, that's the only reason why I know. Everything that could happen, we've had squatters on there, it's causing a lot of problem. You know, the sycamore tree, which is what we're talking about, was a beautiful tree. You know, it's just, as I said, it was right near the back of my property. And I remember meeting Eastleigh Borough Council there when they put it in the auction. I only found out about it because I have a house there. It's the only reason why I knew about it. And I asked them what they were doing with it, and they're not proposing to stick any TPOs on it. And had they done that, it would have taken 1 or 2 units. But it wouldn't have got the value that it got in auction. So they made that balanced decision. Obviously, it's not my decision. But
Yeah.
so they kind of set me up. So when we took the tree down, like, oh my God, we had the police turn up. Well, there's no order on this tree, so it's not much I could have done really.
No, I do appreciate that,
It is
but that's
difficult. I appreciate it's very
yeah.
difficult, and there's no contamination because my uncle once worked there, and what they used to have an oil truck around all the little old stations in Eastleigh and pick up the oil and take it away, but we'd have a survey anyway. But there could be a bomb there though, just so you know, we've got to have a bomb report. That is the truth as well, I couldn't believe it. It's the first one I've had in my 25 years, so we've got to do a report for that at some point, just so you know.
Yeah, so I think for me, I think it's overdevelopment, the lack of green space, and so I'm very sympathetic to all the challenges, and I fully appreciate that you're trying to balance lots of competing things, but yeah, I have concerns about it.
I'm just really struggling with this one. I've changed my mind about 4 times since I've been sat here. I'm very much pro we need the housing. I take on board all the points that people have made tonight, and the applicants made as well. It sounds like quite a few compromises have been made, which is good. It's good to hear that you've had that level of engagement with the neighbours. That is good to see. Yeah, I can't really add anything. Everyone's said what there is to say on this one. It's just one of those, which way do I go on it? And I'm very, very on the fence at the moment.
You're not alone.
Sorry. The adjustments, have they been uploaded to the portal or not yet?
No, because Gary Osmond's been off because it's been half term. So what we basically did was there was too much parking radius of area behind the parking bays. So we gained another about 1.5 meters, and the gap between the parking and the first unit was about 2.5 meters, which we was able to then put a load more trees in. And we also realised that there's some of the rear gardens are done in a strange way. We were able to put another load of hedging in, and particularly on the front as well, because it was just like you say, there's an alleyway there, and you don't want to be walking out the front door straight into an alleyway. So I was trying to play with that and put butts and walls in to try and change, to separate them all off so they felt more private. But it's front to back, which is the crescent, front to back is very difficult to get right, which is the main opposition was from the crescent side, because the front facade is facing their rear garden. There's another way of doing it.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Colin. Just out of interest, with the square meterage of the gardens you've put on these houses,
Yeah.
what are we looking at compared
So they're
to?
not 60%, which is the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And when I put forward my pre-application, which was actually the houses were slightly bigger than they are now, they would concede that the gardens are small because they're near the town centre, and that's a thing that a lot of local authorities do adopt. Whether I think it's right or not is, I just gave them a very basic plan at the time, and they were happy with it. We've actually made them smaller, and then we made them smaller again. You could actually make them slightly smaller again, but it's how many times do you adjust it? And it's at some point you've got to
take a view that it's got to be one's got to make a decision on it. So I can make them smaller, but it's hard to get the balance. It's really difficult.
Yeah. What about parking? I mean, obviously, you have your area parking. What are you allocating at per plot per house?
So we've allocated one per plot with an EV point, and actually Hampshire Highways have done their reports, and I don't actually agree with them. They've actually given us full support of all 4 accesses are viable, and I don't think they are, because I've driven there enough. And one of my property is adjacent to one of those access points, and it's definitely not wide enough for an SUV. So the main access is 90, where 91B the present is, and there's a wisteria that hangs over at the moment, which I know has got to be cut back. I spoke to the neighbour, but I would have, if I was Hampshire Highways, I'd have a very strict in and out criteria. And I think a lot of the people that complain, particularly on Newtown Road, was because Hampshire Highways has said the accesses would be in and out of, through Balby Road, but that doesn't work. And I said to them that won't happen. And of course, Hampshire Highways has said the opposite, so it makes me look awful. But that it couldn't happen that way. It would have to be a strict in and out drive, as it was when it was the garage then.
Sorry, just one last question on the houses around. Like you said, a lot of them have got rear access and garages, etc., etc. And obviously, you amended the plan very nicely to obviously accommodate that. But what's the effects of that? As in, for example, if the surrounding housing using their garages, is there potential, because it's such a small site, of this getting all clogged up with cars?
Yes, so the garages are only the ones on the corners where the access area, where they can actually get in and out the access. As you go further along into mid terraces, there's nothing there. There's no garages there, because they've got 8-foot pedestrian access there in the alleyways. That's what they officially are.
Okay, thank you.
I noticed this isn't going to ELAC till the end of January, and we've heard tonight that there are some changes to the application, and so I do feel a little bit uncomfortable about making a judgment on something that I've not seen the actual changes for physically. So I'm wondering if it might be worth us deferring this one to our next meeting for a decision once we've seen the revised plan, because I assume that will get updated to uploaded to the planning portal at some point. Because obviously we're taking your word at face value, but I've changed it, but whether it needs adapting again, it's kind of between the architect and what Gary Osmond says. I presume you have submitted your changes to EDC. So I brought them with me, but they're quite subtle at this stage. There's so many things you can do. How far do you go? Because you're never going to make everyone happy. No, I get that, but I'm just a little uncomfortable about making a decision when I haven't actually had a chance to read exactly what has changed. Because you've obviously made some compromises which may make me tip the balance further one way or the other. I don't know how everyone else feels like about that, but I will propose then that we defer this to the December meeting once we've had a chance to have a look at those. I'll put that out there as a proposal.
I'll second that.
I would say the changes are quite subtle, aren't they?
They are, but
no change to the actual.
I don't know what they are though officially, do I? Because I haven't read them.
Yeah.
We're taking the applicant at face
value.
Yeah,
I still feel it's a bit overdevelopment on that particular site. But there's no, obviously, you're doing the greenery and vegetation, etc., but it's still.
Well, we can vote on that proposal, and if people don't agree with deferring it, we'll have to make a decision tonight. But I'll propose that, and I think somebody seconded it.
I'll second it.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm always interested in opinions. Is it more the bulk? Forget how many units it is, because it's kind of not the point. Is it the bulk and mass, or is it the amount? Because the bulk and mass is very different to the amount of units to me. It makes a huge difference, because you can shrink houses down. For instance, I think they are approximately all 6 of them, about 5,300 square foot. Now, there's new disability regulations, and there's the rights of room sizes as well, which will
been adopted by Eastleigh, you could probably take another 500 or 600 square foot of that structure quite easily, and there'd still be the same properties, the same facade. But it's what's the most important thing.
My opinion is the privacy of the people offers back gardens. You've got there and just overlooking the back gardens. There's no the privacy's gone. That's the thing that's one of the things.
You can only put hedging in, that's all you can put in really.
Yeah, but you still got hedging up the top of the next thing, the second floor.
Of course.
That's the thing.
I think that's, when you look at, for example, modern day living and everything, a lot of families and that have 2 cars, 2 vehicles, and you're obviously catering for 1 vehicle per household. Probably not really, and it's quite a small space squeezed in there still, and you've got housing around you also using the space around you. I think it just might be a bit congested, doesn't it?
It's interesting, really interesting.
But I mean, whilst I agree with you on a practical level completely, the fact that it falls within that as far as Eastleigh are concerned, that is I can't remember what their technical term for it is, but basically you could, as I think Colin said, you could go with no parking there, and from Eastleigh's point of view that wouldn't be problematic. We all know as Eastleigh residents that it's hugely problematic, and I think it's the fact that people won't get permits which makes it really difficult for because everybody has visitors and things like that. You might have workmen there to do stuff on your property and all of that. So it is really problematic not having the parking, but that is the rules, and that's not going to change for this. So I just don't think we can, as much as I agree with you,
of course.
we can't object on that basis because we know it would just get sort of thrown out. But
I think I was just using my own sort of personal views. Obviously, that's what you asked. That's the question you asked. That's the question you asked. So I was just sort of taking a sort of a personal opinion. That's the question you asked.
So you propose
I've made, can I ask that we vote on that?
We're happy to delay it to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask when that is, please?
3rd of December.
What was it, sorry?
3rd of December.
My wife's 50th birthday, I've taken her away.
It will be the same members as today, so they have heard.
Yeah, I think I can appreciate and understand what everyone's saying. So, whatever I can amend, I will do accordingly.
The one you need to come to is the ELAC meeting on.
Oh, I understand very well.
That's when they're going to.
I like council
On a
meetings.
decision.
I know it's quite important to me.
So I'll see you there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I just say one thing before you move on? I was just going to say thank you so much for coming and talking, because I think we really appreciate hearing your perspective and having the opportunity to ask you things and what have you. That really
I
helps
think
us.
that's how it should be.
We don't get it very often, so it's
No, we
nice.
don't.
Developers can be quite difficult, and we don't always get a chance, an opportunity to say what we're really trying to achieve. Because I originally, when I thought about this, I thought it's definitely not 6 units. I didn't think that personally, but Eastleigh wanted 6 units, and they didn't want the parking either, and I just knew that would cause me so much trouble with the locals. And as bad as it is,
It's really interesting. Yeah.
I've done the best I can. It's like you said, it's policy over practicality. That's not my decision, obviously.
You're very brave to propose something on your doorstep.
I've owned that house for 20 years, so I know someone quite well, and it's quite difficult, but that's just the nature of my job, unfortunately.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
You're welcome to stay or go.
Thank you very much.
Entirely.
Do you know what? I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now take control back on you.
Do you need to, because aren't you affected by the Chadwick Road?
We go to the advertisement one.
Shall we?
Oh, right. Oh,
Okay.
yes, of course.
Go back to work.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll go
yes,
back
okay.
to
The one we
48 Market
missed.
Yeah, one we
Street. Then
missed.
we'll come back,
Yeah, okay.
Okie dokie. 48 Market Street, replacement of existing fascia signage with new non-illuminated Signage.
Okay, so this one is a retrospective planning application. The advertisement sign has already been replaced. So this is the location and block plan. And this is the existing, well, the previous and now the proposed plans that are now. And that is all that we have on that one. No comments.
Yes.
I propose no objection.
Second.
Any other comments? No discussion? All those in favour? Thank you very much. 11 Chadwick Road, I'll now hand back over to Maggie for chair this one, because
Yeah.
I live next door, one from the Eastleigh.
Right.
Yeah.
An erection of the first floor front extension above a single-storey projection, and a single-storey rear extension and a rear dormer to facilitate loft conversion. It sounds quite a lot. I read through the comments. Well, there weren't any. No objections whatsoever. So, how does anybody else feel about it? Wayne?
I can't.
Oh, you can't.
Comment.
Yes.
Right, so what we have here is the location and block plan. These are the existing elevations, the floor and the roof plans. They have provided some photos of how it is currently. And these are the proposed elevations and floor and roof plans. So they've submitted a design and access statement, and they have said that a party wall agreement will be in place before any work is started. As you can see, the proposals and the designs and materials they've put in place for you. The scale of impact, they've said that it will comply with permitted development guidelines. The height will be kept to a minimum to reduce any visual impact. The access and parking, so it accommodates 3 to 4 cars, and the site is accessible by car, bike and transport. Ecological statement was provided, although I don't have that on there, so I'm not sure about it. And it will remain as a family home. And that's all I have on that one.
Any comments?
I have no objections to this one.
Me neither. Have you?
Yes. Well, I'm not saying I've got objections, I've got comments.
Right.
Paving over the front garden, I think, is the first issue. I'm not sure Eastleigh allow that. But anyway, so I just think with climate change and what have you, and they also suggest that the rear garden is going to be paved to create a minimalistic garden. So I think, assuming it looks a fairly sizable garden compared to what you get with modern houses, and I think sort of paving over all of that is problematic in terms of climate change, and obviously we need the rain to be absorbed down into the ground and not obviously bouncing off, so we have flooding and things like that. So I think that's problematic. I found the drawings actually quite. It just looked, particularly if you look bottom right, that southwest elevation just looked quite peculiar to me, and well, certainly the middle one as well. So it just sort of. And I couldn't quite, because there is a garage there at the moment, so it doesn't, none of the plans make any mention of the garage, so I was a bit unsure how all this work is going to be done and how does that impact on the garage. Is the garage being removed? Is it not affected? So I just wasn't sure that we had quite enough sort of information, and it just seemed a little bit higgledy-piggledy, if I put it that way. I know that's not a very technical term, but just thinking from the point of view that if feeling like that, if we don't, and you know, assuming others felt similarly, if we don't say it and we let it go without comment, then the next time we have something, you know, then somebody will look up and say, oh, but we approved, you know, 11 Chadwick Road. So it might just be that I'm not understanding what they're looking to do, but it just seems to me that you end up with a very strange sort of house. And I mean, I know at the end of the day we have to make our decision based on this, but I kind of, as much as I'm saying that it's going to stay a family home, it kind of almost looked like this is setting it up for what comes after that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I'm not 100% sure about this one.
Anybody else got a comment? No? Shall we make a proposal then? That we accept it or what? Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think you had a proposal, didn't you?
I think I approached. I have no comment on it.
Oh.
I'm fine with it, you know. It's,
Yeah?
You propose no objection?
yeah, but that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Guys.
Can we have a vote on that?
I'll second it, so
Oh,
it
thank
goes
you,
to a
yes.
vote.
I'll get it right one of these days. Shall we vote on it? All those in favour? Okay. Are you abstaining?
Abstained.
No, I'm against.
All right.
So one against.
Okay, thank you, Nicky, but that's I promise it's the last time I'll ask you tonight. You can relax now and I'll take the reins over now.
You're all
That's good.
heart.
Highway matters then. Anything, Natasha?
Yeah, so just a few updates. I put them in the folder for you. So we have a traffic regulation order that's gone into place that starts on the 24th of October and ends on the 2nd of December for the Falkland Road off-street car park. So it's just for your information. We also have an update on the M27 junction 10. So it was just to confirm that there will be a full closure of the M27 in both directions between junction 9 and 11, scheduled from 8 p.m. on the 24th of December to 4 a.m. on the Sunday the 4th of January. And the final update I have is the M3 junctions 5 to 6, the embankment works. So there will be northbound closure scheduled for 3 nights from the Friday the 21st of November, with the full junction closure from 9 o'clock until 6 a.m. Those are your highway updates today. Is there any updates that anyone else would like to speak on?
Can I ask a question? So those were just for noting.
Yeah, so it's just to receive updates, and if there's, so the way that we've worded that, we've changed the agenda slightly, so that if there are, so I will bring the updates to you, but you can discuss them, and if there is anything that you wish for me to comment on, this just allows for that.
Yeah, so the Falkland Road one, I couldn't, when I was clicking everywhere, I was hoping it was going to take me to the bit that, because the only thing I had about that thought was I couldn't actually see what they were proposing as the restriction.
Okay.
So I appreciate that they want to get like the turnover of vehicles so that people don't go in there and park for the whole day. So I absolutely get that. And I can't remember off the top of my head what shops are there. But I was just thinking, I wonder, like, are they saying an hour or something? And I was thinking from a female perspective, if there's a hairdresser's there and you're going to the hairdressers, you might want, it could have like quite an impact on the hairdressers if suddenly it's gone from people can stay as long as they like to now it's like, I don't know, half an hour or something. That could have a major impact on a small business sort of thing. So I just wanted to ask that question, but I couldn't see the bit that said, you know, it's going to be limited to 2 hours, 1 hour, 15 minutes or...
will do, I'll take it as an action, is I will forward you it was an email that it came through on. So where I've converted it to a PDF, the attachments seem to not be able to be clicked
The
on.
hyperlinks don't
So
work.
yes, sorry. So I will forward the committee the email so that you can read it properly.
Lovely, thank you.
Anything else? No. Comments? Do you need to vote on this?
No?
No. No. Everyone happy? We'll
Mhm.
move on. Okay. Planning projects.
Okay, so the first one is to receive an update on the Remove the Barriers project. So the last meeting we discussed that the community engagement officer is chasing a list of identified areas from EBC. We have not had that yet, but we are also trying to circulate from the action back that we had last time, which is to see if Hampshire County Council still have a reserved for the barriers to walking and cycling that could link in with our Remove the Barriers. We have been unable to, and the community engagement officer has been trying for some time, get a response back regarding the funding pot. I emailed the chair a few weeks ago regarding if he knew who we could contact to get that, so I'm just waiting back.
Sorry, I missed that. I will look for that. Sorry.
That's okay, but we are shaking the trees, so to speak, but we are having not much luck on the Remove the Barriers and finding out what funding is available from Hampshire County Council. As soon as we have anything, we will push it to come back. So that is the Remove the Barriers update. The speed indicator devices update. So the last meeting we had, there were a few clarifications that I needed to go back to EBC and ask for. The responses have been received. So the deployment for each speed indicator device is actually for 2 weeks and only 2 weeks. So that approximate cost of £300 is for 2 weeks. So I'll leave it there and I'll come back to that. The second one is that they follow a Hampshire County Council guide for their speed indicator deployment. And they've kindly shared that with us, so that is in the folder for you, and the link does work on this one, so you can have a look at that. And then they have advised that if a speed indicator device becomes faulty, no additional charges would apply to ETC because we are not the owners. They would go out and fix that. So further to that, what I did was I got the original proposed sites that the committee submitted. And I then put next down here which ones they have approved. So they have approved these sites and lamp columns for deployment. They have had the tests on them as they've been there before. So these are approved areas where should we wish to continue with speed indicator devices, they would be able to put them up there. The sites that were not approved was Toynbee Road, because it is of its proximity to a school 20 miles per hour zone, and Highwood Avenue, it's not adopted as highway land and it remains under developer control, so they are not able to assist with that. What I've then gone on to explain further, and you'll see because I'm looking into the budget process further on in this meeting, that actually the impact of a £300 speed indicator device for 2 weeks is quite great for what kind of impact the committee would like to see around Eastleigh. So I looked at a cost of if we were to find 10 sites that we were happy with, and you covered those 10 sites with 4 times a year, so you'd have 8 weeks at that one lamp column a year for those 10 sites. That would cost approximately £12,000. Yes. I have sought further clarification from EBC, and I'm awaiting that back because
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask it now?
wait 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So what I have done is I have spoken to the asset officer, I have spoken to the town clerk, and we are potentially having an asset team coming on board in the not too distant future, or at least someone that might be able to help. And whilst we looked at the cost of buying one of EBC, and that seemed quite steep previously, if we have a team that could go out and put it out and do those tests for us, it may be more cost effective. So I am suggesting that whilst I seek further information from EBC and clarification that that is the cost that they would recommend, and what the costs would be to do it in-house may be better. So I will let you have, if you have further information.
Well, no, I was just going to, because I did click on that hyperlink, which worked, and I read the Hampshire document.
Yeah.
And Hampshire, they talked about having to, there was a licence fee, which was also £300. So I was sort of thinking, gosh, is that EBC are going to charge us £300 per site, and then Hampshire County Council are going to charge us £300, which obviously makes it even more expensive. But I think if you don't go up, it was highlighted in bold. Oh, I just saw it, so I don't know where you've gone now. It does say there about a licence fee of £300. And they do say in their blurb that it has, obviously the research that's been done on these things, that they say they lose their effectiveness if they're in situ for anything more than a couple of weeks, and they don't recommend that you do it more than 4 times in a year in the same sort of place.
So it sort of feeds into the clarification that I'm waiting back from EBC. So originally the costs that were quoted, that was including all licensing fees, or so it was to believe. But I will ask that.
I thought we were buying these. We had a meeting, so we're going to buy them.
It was an option, but we didn't go with that option.
We can go, okay, so I understand.
We might now have to, based on that.
Excuse me, sorry.
That's a ridiculous price. I think they're very good and they're useful, but not for £12,000 in a year. That's just nonsense, to be perfectly honest. So I would go with the officer's recommendation that we seek clarification and then have a full proposal come back to us with what it costs if we were to buy it outright and do it, because I cannot justify putting £12,000 on the council tax bill every year for that. That's ridiculous.
Can I just go back to Hollywood?
Jesus.
The reason we asked for it for Hollywood was because we've had complaints about the speeding. And we said we'd like to get further information. We put the devices down there. We're not going to put them down there. So now what are we going to do to answer the residents in Hollywood?
We can't do anything, Wayne, because it's still a private road at the moment.
So we can't
do anything.
No?
There are discussions going on further afield over Highwood, but until it's an adopted land, there is little that we can do on that.
So I can get back to this man and tell him that we can't do anything.
Can't do anything until it's adopted.
Till it's adopted. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Anything else?
Did you want? I was going to say, did you want to review the approved sites? But actually, I will just get the clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third one is the neighbourhood plan. It was the same as it is. So we are obviously, it's been resolved that it's paused until the next town council elections in May 2026. The crossing patrols, it was again just to note that the crossing patrol budget was held until the full cost of the speed indicator device projects are confirmed and the approach for delivering the safety campaign is finalised. And finally, the safety campaign. So I have met with the community engagement officer a few times. The last one was actually today. Where it has been recognised, please, been in contact with the Systems Advice Bureau. We've had a few conversations with Halfords. There's been a few with the bid. So where it has been recognised that it would be helpful is areas such as bikeability courses and bike tagging and road safety campaigns. So we are working on a proposal to come forward for the committee's consideration. There is also the Commissioner's Emerging Needs Fund that is open, and it closes actually at the end of November for road safety. So she is wanting to promote road safety to reduce death and serious injury. The Community Engagement Officer and I are working on a proposal, and we will update you in due course.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I looked at one of the documents that you provided us with, and I think it said something like, I don't know, say 24, just off the top of my head, something like 24 places on a bikeability, and then 50 of something else and 50 of something else. I was just going to say that I think the cycling for young people is really important, and I would like to propose, or I would like the committee to consider asking, because 24 would be just one school. I would like us to do it for all of the primary schools within our area, rather than do the 50 of the, I can't remember what the other thing was,
Yeah.
but I think it would be really good if we've got, is it 6 primary schools or something in our area?
So what I'm currently waiting on is Bikeability actually do work in this area already, and they do it for free under a grant under Hertfordshire County Council. They are letting me know what schools they already work in and what ones they have booked things already up ahead. So that's why we're still sort of at the information gathering stage. The reason that you've seen the budget, and I've given you some figures there, is because that is what we could do with the £2,500 that we have this year. That is without any OPCC funding. So I'm proposing that we would spend what we have this year. It's not tight fitting to that is what we would spend it on.
Yes.
And I'm not requesting until we have the paper what we spend it on. It is just a guidance to show that we have the legs to create this project for this year.
Yeah. I wasn't proposing any increase in that. I was just saying if we've got 2,500, I think it would be better spent helping more children actually to learn how to ride safely, because although all of us, I'm sure, you know, our sort of children or loved ones, you know, have been taught how to ride properly, being a school governor, you know, I know that there are a lot of children who don't have that sort of opportunity, and I just think let's maximise the money on helping them to learn how to ride safely, rather than giving them a, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the really crucial bit, but others might not agree.
Wholehearted.
I think we're in a balance at the moment of tipping the crime prevention and the safety at the same time, so that's where but I do completely agree.
Thank you, Declan. Any more comments?
No.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Yeah, so the next one is HMO
Excuse
planning
me, sorry.
controls. So it was just to note the correspondence that I had sent to Eastleigh Borough and our policy recommendations.
Yes.
Have you had a reply yet?
Mm-mm.
Have you had an acknowledgement? When did you send it?
I'm just trying to think. I can't 100% tell you I haven't had an acknowledgement.
Okay.
But I can can't get my email up right now.
Oh, that's fine.
So I have not had a response.
A formal, proper response to that.
Response,
No.
but
Okay.
I might have had a we have received during.
Okay. Thank you. That was all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to say thank you to the deputy clerk for doing that, and I think it's a really positive step towards getting us a positive policy that balances, you know, what you were saying, Maggie, about young people or single people needing accommodation, but at the same time not changing the character of an area. So thank you. I thought it was a really well constructed document.
Okay. We can move on then. Thank you. Budget for 26-27.
Okay, so what I have done, obviously.
Could you zoom in a bit? Thank you. They're not as good as they used to be.
To be fair, it looks very small on that screen. Okay, so I have put together a projection provision for 2026-27. I created something similar last year for you. I've just given potentially a bit more notes this year. So I've got, the first line is our budget. The second line is our year to date, which I've been giving you these figures in our planning projects anyway, so you are aware of them. The forecast and the variance, and then our 2026-27 budget. I'm going to leave it with you and ask if there are any comments.
Any comments? No? Okay. Move on then.
We need to so I'd like you to resolve to approve the proposed budget
Right.
for submission to the Policy and Finance Committee.
Do we have a proposer? Can we have a second then?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Okay, all those in favour? Okay. HCC draft Eastleigh transport strategy.
Can I add a thank you?
Good.
Can I add a thank you to the deputy clerk for putting that together? I thought it was very good.
Yes, it
You're
was
most
excellent
welcome.
actually, yeah.
Okay, so the HCC draft Eastleigh transport strategy. So you all received this on email. This is from our last meeting, but it was just so that it's on there to note that we had agreed the response that I submitted on our behalf.
Thank you. Any comments?
Oh, is it not on there?
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. The response that you emailed to us was very good, but what was on our
It's completely
agenda
empty.
Was blank.
completely blank.
I do apologise. I obviously moved the empty one rather than the one that I actually submitted.
So assuming you did submit what you told us, it's very good.
Hopefully I didn't submit a blank one, but no, actually they did respond to me.
Yeah.
So I will.
Have they responded with, is it just a we have received?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was a we taken, and we appreciate all the comments and we go through.
Right.
I can, bear with me, I'll turn off my screen and I'll get the actual response. There we go. So that is the exact email that I sent out to you.
Comments on that?
Okay.
Everyone happy?
Yeah.
Very good. the next item is the date of the next meeting.
I know, and
I
I've just
don't
noticed
quite-
that it says the 4th of November,
I
so...
don't quite understand that, but to review the date.
So, because I've put the date is wrong on there, it says
absolutely,
today.
yeah.
The next meeting is the 3rd of December.
Right,
Third.
Yes.
right. Okay, that's it, end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Just wait for Lloyd to come in.
Oh, is Lloyd here?
Yeah,